what's going on, listeners? This is your boy, Zodizach, coming to you live all the way from Riverside, California on a lovely Thursday night. This is the Average Fellas Podcast. A little bit different programming going on tonight, doing something a little special. If you don't know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. So is my brother, and so we thought we would start a midweek show about Star Wars. We just join on a Facebook call and have a conversation about Mandalorian. Season 2 is coming out in October, so we figured it'd be a good opportunity for us. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the call. My little brother Luke, what is going on, my guy?
How's it going, guys? How's it going?
Whew.
Awesome night tonight. Awesome.
How was your day today, bud?
News going.
How was your day today, bud?
It was good. Was very good today. Hot. It was a hot one.
Yeah, did you do anything? Did you work out today?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
Had to wake up extra early this morning.
Tell me what you did.
Pretty much woke up this morning 6 a.m. Went for a 3-mile run, and then in the garage, I decided to do a calisthenic workout, burpees, a lot of body weight exercises.
Wow.
Yeah. So just got to keep the body going.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I try to take Russ out for a few walks every now and then. During the day, 3 or 4 walks a day, and then I hit these rubber bands. Try to stay active, keep him active, trying to stay healthy. Did you?
Awesome.
I'm trying to keep off that COVID-15. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody's saying the COVID-15 thing is going on right now. From just staying in too much. So get a little bit of a walk in there. Walk around the block. Stay away from everybody, social distance, but I do get those walks in there. Anyways, yeah, Star Wars. So big Star Wars fans. Hey, why don't you tell me a little bit about your Star Wars credibility? Tell me a little bit about what makes you a Star Wars fan.
Ooh, besides being the second person in line for every single Star Wars movie that comes out in theaters.
We're in Los Banos. If you go watch Star Wars movies in Los Banos, then my brother's probably the second person in line at Premier Cinemas.
With a lawn chair just chilling in the front. Oh my goodness. What makes my credibility for Star Wars? Loved it. I'd like to say my name was named after Luke Skywalker, even though I know it wasn't. Growing up as a kid, just always watched all the movies, played video games of Star Wars, read books of Star Wars, Legos of Star Wars, even to the point of buying lightsabers.
Yeah. So growing up, a big part of our childhood, my brother and I are huge Star Wars fans. We actually have a family photo, my brother and my sister, of us. We did the silhouettes of Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme from episode 2. Episode 2. So we went to during the time Disneyland was doing this thing where they would Photoshop your head into their bodies, and this was during episode 2, Clone Wars. And we went to Disneyland. We got the family photo done then, and then we went back recently for the opening of Galaxy's Edge, which was awesome. Both you and I have experienced Galaxy's Edge. We had the Bamfa Milk. I've been to the Cantina. I did Savvy's Workshop. I think that's what it's called. Is it Savvy's Workshop? Where you get to make your lightsaber, your custom lightsaber. I got to do that entire experience. I also did the VR thing for Star Wars. As you're walking in, I think it's downtown. It's closer to. I'm not sure exactly where it's at, but it's near downtown Disney. It's on your way into Disneyland. They have this VR experience that you get to do, and you actually get to fire a blaster at Darth Vader. Let me tell you, that was the most scariest thing I've ever physically been a part of, because Darth Vader in Legends, in the book, he's supposed to be 7 feet plus, and in this VR experience, you're in there with your blaster and you're shooting a bunch of stormtroopers, and you're get out of here, Chrome Dome, and you're shooting them and stuff, but then Darth Vader just busts in out of nowhere and ruined your day. And man, it was for a second there, as he's approaching you, it's VR, so first, you have to, obviously you can tell it's not real, but is there a split second where you're just wow, this is amazing. I really wish, I was please Vader, choke me. Anyways, So yeah, Star Wars credibility. Star Wars has been around for a long time in our lives. You and I have done some YouTube videos on Star Wars before. Favorite Star Wars droid? Let's hear it.
Favorite Star Wars droid? I would have to say R2D2 because he just does what he has to do. Just gets the job done.
You know what they say? He's got the dirtiest mouth in the business because everything he says has to be bleeped.
They had to bleep out his word. They had to bleep out every word.
Yeah, I also really like the new addition of BB-8 to the franchise. So he's a good character. He's just just a fun droid. A good droid. Speaking of droids, why don't we talk about Mandalorian? Let's get into Mandalorian because the Mandalorian features a droid that is awesome, and I can't remember what his name was. I remember IG-11 is the name of the droid in the first episode of the Mandalorian. So the Mandalorian's been out for some time now, so if you haven't seen it, there's no spoilers here. Shame on you if you haven't seen it yet. Find a friend if you can't get Disney Plus, and you can afford Disney Plus. Trust me, your friends will help you out. Ask them to let you watch the Mandalorian, because it's definitely a good show. It's worth watching. Family friendly, at least I think it is. But anyways, the Mandalorian. Let's get into it. So the Mandalorian came out, I think, I want to say in November, is when it came out last year.
Last year in November. Yes.
Yeah. And I instantly just fell in love with the characters. Especially Baby Yoda. Everybody knows Baby Yoda is a huge thing for a minute, Tell me about your reaction. What was your first reaction to the Mandalorian? It drops because there was all this anticipated hype around it, right? Like we got to see all these cool teasers. What was it like for you to, finally get to see the first episode?
So when I was watching the Mandalorian, one of the things that remind me of is that Mando, aka Mandalorian, the Mandalorian, just gave me that John Wayne vibe. That very Western. It's like a space Western.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very space Western. Even in the beginning, going into it, just walking into a cantina scene where Mando walks in, it just gives you this whole John Wayne type setting.
Yeah, he instantly he walks into that the cantina, right? And it's like you automatically get the vibe this is a guy that you do not need to be messing with,
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of sets the tone, and it's kind of silent, and then there's all of us out of nowhere a skirmish breaks out, right? Probably one of my highlights the first episode was just so good. There's so many good pieces to it, right? So in that very first bit though, there's the part where he uses his grappling gun, right? He shoots it at this guy, he drags him back, he pulls his body towards this door that is it's closing, right? No, he pulls his body towards the doorway, and he takes his blaster, he shoots this he shoots the button on the wall, and then the door closes, chopping the body in half. You just hear the body falling.
Oh my god.
You hear the body break in half, basically. Okay, so that's the first 5 minutes of the show. So just be ready for action, because the show, it's there is this weird ebb and flow, very soft, very vibe areas where they want to tell story, huge landscapes that you'll see, and the show itself is beautiful. When you watch it, it just looks good on your TV. And I watched it again today, and it just looked really. I was just man, they did a really good job. Did a really good job, because if you go back and you look at episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, trash, man. The effects in those movies are such trash. So hands down to the Mandalorian team, they did a really good job, especially with the set design and everything. It looks really good. I really like Mando's get up. His whole entire outfit looks really good. But yeah, moving on. So first reaction, definitely a Western. I agree with you on that one too. I'm getting that vibe too.
That Western John Wayne vibe.
Exactly.
Yep.
So any characters that stood out to you that you want to shout out, characters that you're man, that was awesome to see? Any characters that were referenced, or maybe even actors that you've seen?
Definitely. There's a guy that we get to meet in the first episode. He's a part of the Bounty Guild. His name is Grief Carnigan,
Yeah.
and very cool guy, super cool guy. He is actually played by the one, the only Apollo Creed. Carl Weathers. You don't know his name is Carl Weathers, but everybody will know him as Apollo Creed, who played in Rocky. Super cool guy. He's kind of part of he's known as the leader of the Bounty Hunters Guild, and his whole thing is he collects these bounty pucks, and he gives them to bounty hunters, and they go out and collect the bounties of the people that they need to get. And
it's not just Mandalorians that are part of this guild. There's other people.
There's
like
so many.
We talked about droids. IG-11 is a bounty hunter that Mando runs into in the first episode, and like it just it was just a really good. It was such a good scene, man. It was so good. Speaking of that scene, so basically. If you need to watch the episode. I'm not going to tell you about the episode or what happens. We're just going to get into the parts that we like. We're just going to talk about the things that we liked about the episode. Okay. So, the part that I really did like is when Mando actually goes to retrieve the key fob from that little, that remnant of Imperial, forces that is just out in the outskirts of the outer ring. I think it's kind of like where they're hanging out. But he actually goes into this building, and there you see like 4 or 5 stormtroopers, right? I don't remember what that boss's name was.
If I'm not mistaken, the main guy that's in there, that's actually in the building, is
I don't know.
He heads to Arvala 7. It's a desert planet. It's a desert planet, but the planet that he heads to is Arvala 7.
Right. And so, but he's retrieving like this. He's getting a tracking device for this bounty, but he actually runs into like this little bit of resistance, and they're the people who are sending him to go retrieve the first bounty that like the story is based on, and it was super cool because like you kind of see like this fledgling resistance of like the shoes on the other foot now, because this story takes place after. The second Death Star explodes, right?
After Return of the Jedi. Yes.
Right, after Return of the Jedi. And from what I'm gathering, this takes place before
Rogue One, I believe.
Before Rogue One. I think so. No, not before Rogue One. No, before before The Force Awakens, I'm sorry.
Yes.
For The Force Awakens. So it's in between the originals and the sequels. This is where I'm thinking this kind of takes place. But anyway, because once again, there's either this. So like I said, there's like a remnant of resistance that they're running into. So it's not like, there's a remnant of Imperial forces that they're running into. Yeah. It's not like they're like, heavy guns out here or anything. Anyway, so he finally gets his little fob or whatever, and he's sent out to go retrieve the package, which leads us to my favorite scene, right? My favorite scene the entire saga though is they pull up on like, I don't know, some kind of like little village or something. It's like a little outpost or something, right? It was like a outpost somewhere, and this is where you get to finally see IG-11. Like this is like my favorite character of the first episode, hands down for me. It was because it was impressive. But yeah, so like this robot he goes on like a terror pretty much, and that was a highlight of the episode for me, man.
the desert planet is Arvala 7, actually.
Yeah,
the actual planet it goes to. And so, which is it's so cool because this guy, basically Mando goes in there, and it's just, he's searching this place out. Turns out he finds another droid there. He finds this other, who's a bounty droid, who's actually to collect the same bounty as Mando.
That's right. So Mando runs into IG-11 at Arvala 7 while they're looking they're both searching for the same bounty, right? And so he runs into him. So in the first episode, we kind of have like a team up between Mando and IG-11 against these gangsters, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
What was your thoughts about that scene though, as it kind of unfolded? Because like basically, like when he goes in there,
he's already IG-11 is already guns blazing. He's shooting everybody, and it's so crazy because he actually shoots Mando one time in the armor in
Oh
the
my god.
chest, and Mando's like, I'm in the guild, dude. I'm in the guild. You're shooting your teammate." He's like, "Oh, really? Sorry, my bad." Because he's already gun ho, like, "I'm gonna kill everybody in this place. I don't care."
Yeah.
And so, because their main mission was retrieve the package, get it back, and get back to the guild. And so they're just gun ho. They're going in there full blast, full throttle, you know. And it's like this first shootout moment that you get to see the first time that they're actually in a legitimate battle scene fight.
Yeah.
And it's super cool because the rest of them have been like these small little outpost fights, little, you know, they run into people, stragglers.
Yeah.
But this is like the first time they're actually in a shootout to where you actually see Mando like, okay.
Yeah, and it had that
Mandalorian.
vibe. It had that Western shootout vibe, you know. It just reminded me of all those old school sort of movies. The director, John Favreau, I think that's his last name. He did a really good job. I thought he did a great job. I thought they casted the show great. Like the fact that you have, gosh, what's his name? You have Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian.
Pedro Pascal. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like that's it. That itself's like that's awesome already, you know. And then you have later on in the season, you end up having I think I can't remember her name, but she was a part of like American Gladiator. I can't remember her name exactly. But anyways, she's just another person, like a familiar face on TV. Her
name's Gina Carano.
Yeah.
Canaro.
Yeah, exactly.
And she plays Cara Dune. We'll talk about her later in the films to come.
Yeah, exactly. In the episodes, in the next few episodes, we'll get into it. So, I mean, basically, what we've kind of agreed on is that we're going to try and watch an episode of The Mandalorian, and we're also going to try and watch an episode of Star Wars: The Resistance, right? Which is an animated series. Which, yeah, well, let's kind of get into that too a little bit. Let's just go and move on to the animated series, Star Wars Resistance, which is kind of a first for me. I don't know about you. I've never gotten into any of the animated series from Star Wars except for, oh, man, let me think. I've seen like a few episodes of the Clone Wars.
I actually diehard fan of Clone Wars.
Yeah,
seen all 7 seasons, and I believe there's one more season that just came out recently, and it's like the grand final leading up to the basically all the Clone Wars all the way up until the Purge.
Wow.
So definitely, if you have not seen it, please watch it from the beginning to the end.
Yeah. I have not done that. That's a huge feat, man. I don't know if I could commit to that. 7 seasons?
It's something like 300 and something episodes. Yeah.
I have no idea if I could do that. Ooh. One time, I actually, when I was working night out at the Quality Inn, I actually I watched the entire bridge version of Dragon Ball Z, and that took a long time. Oh my gosh. It was all right. I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan, like by any stretch of the imagination. I would be lying to you if I said, you know, I'm a fan, because I have no memorabilia, no nothing. But we want to talk about Star Wars. I got plenty of things.
There we go.
Matter of fact, I got a lot of kitchen utensils. I got a coffee press, coffee cups, a waffle iron, salt and pepper shakers, cups. Man, you name it. Star Wars, for sure. I got it. Star Wars toothbrushes, for sure. I got that right now. Yeah. Anyways, Star Wars Resistance. This is an animated series that's on Disney Plus as well. What'd you think about that, man? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I thought it was cool. Like I you know,
this is a whole new story. I'm sorry. This is a whole new story that is being introduced into the Star Wars universe, and because it's done by Disney, this now makes it canonical. So it's like it's canon now.
It's
a part of the canon.
Of the Star Wars universe.
It's a part of the Star Wars universe. So these are characters that, as a matter of fact, the first episode. Tell us about the first episode. Tell us about who we run into in the first episode.
So basically, in the first episode 1, part 1, the recruit. There's this new Republic Command, and they want fighters to report intel about basically this.
These little pockets of Imperial remnant that's out in the universe, right?
And the two characters that you meet off the bat are T4, who's a droid, and the Kid. They call him the Kid, and his name is Kaz.
Kaz, aka the Kid.
Kaz, yeah, the Kid Kaz, and he's kind of like the guy who's the new kid on the block type thing. You know, he's coming
a hot shot.
Hot shot. You know, he thinks he's all that. You know, but really, people think he's all that, but he really isn't.
Yeah,
he's coming into the fold.
He's kind of like me, just an average fella.
Just an average fella, you know. And basically, Poe's ship, I don't know if you know Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
Who is the captain of Lieutenant, you know, in the main series of Star Wars. Poe actually saw Poe's ship was in the Battle of Scarif to Jakku. So there's this legendary ship that Cass wants to kind of fly with.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, you know, this guy is legendary. He's the best of the best. And so they kind of meet each other flying, actually. And Poe actually wants the Kid to sign up for the Resistance.
Yeah, so right off the bat in the first episode, you're introduced to Poe Dameron. Well, you meet Poe, you realize that Poe Dameron is alive during the timeline that Star Wars: The Resistance takes place, right? So I believe this is around this is right before. I think this is right before either The Last Jedi, or it is right during The Force Awakens. I believe this takes place. Okay,
it's around that timeline.
Exactly, it's around that time because Poe Dameron is involved. BB-8 is the main character. As a matter of fact, BB-8 is left with Kaz by Poe Dameron. Poe Dameron leaves BB-8 with Kaz, and so they are, you know, he's there. He's a familiar face. And the cool thing about this first episode, though, is they get into like this weird place where they end up on like this it was like a water planet, right?
Yeah, it's actually called Castilon.
Castilon, yeah, that's right. It was a water planet called Castilon. They get on this planet, and basically what ends up happening, I just want to say this, get into my favorite part though, right? Because basically what ends up happening is he gets in some pickle where he's supposed to keep a low profile, right? His first mission is to discover some intel about, you know, the remnant, you know, Imperials that are left on this water planet, right? He's supposed to gather some intel about it, and he gets involved with the wrong crowd because he also wants to be the universe like greatest star pilot, just like Poe Dameron, right? Just like Han Solo, just like me and you, right, Luke?
Yep.
My brother and I have this weird fascination with the Millennium Falcon, where in some alternate universe, you and I are piloting it, right?
Right, exactly. One of the reasons too, well, he goes to Castilon, and he's actually they're looking for a spy.
Oh, that's right, a spy.
It's a spy on a super tanker called Cassilis, and it's a tanker for pilots. Someone there's working for the First Order. So there's a spy on that tanker.
Who's working for the First Order?
Who works for the First Order.
Okay, so this is because that puts us at the Force Awakens then.
Mm-hmm.
That's where. So I think it connects.
First Order is involved in this. Yes.
Okay, so First Order is involved with the Resistance. Okay, wow, I didn't even realize that. Anyway, so he's on this planet, and he's supposed to, you know, he wants to be the best star pilot ever, right? But he gets involved with the wrong guys, and you know, he starts thinking like, I'm not going to make it out here. I should just go home. And he starts getting kind of afraid. I think I bit off more than I can chew. I committed to something that is a little bit bigger than what I can handle, right? Mm-hmm. And so the show itself kind of gets into those sort of like ideas. You know, it plays with those little bit of pickles that we deal with. I mean, it's for kids, you know. So, but it's a good show. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good one. Those shows, though, they're only like 20 minutes, aren't they?
Yeah, actually, part one is only 23 minutes long.
Yeah, so you can definitely do a couple of those
Star
in
Wars
one sitting.
Resistance, it was only 23 minutes long. The Mandalorian was only 40 minutes long, the
Yeah.
first episode.
Yeah, I know. It's. I mean, hopefully we'll be able to. We can stick with it. We'll try and do one episode
Yeah.
a week and just kind of talk about it because we're Star Wars fans. You know, I just want to see what's out there with Star Wars fans. I think it's an average fellows kind of thing, right? Average fellows,
Yeah.
maybe average fellows like Star Wars. I don't know. If you guys are listening to this today and you're thinking, yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan, leave a comment. Leave us a comment. You can always email us at averagefellas@gmail.com. Yeah.
Star Trek was a better series than Star Wars.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that, guys.
Like, in true fashion, Dad breaks into the basement while a bunch of nerds are talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, kind of abrupt.
Yeah. Another thing too, yeah. So hopefully we hope to get some more guests on the show as when it comes to Star Bros. We'll have a couple of our friends come in and join the conversation. We'll talk about some of the best lightsaber battles. We'll have opinions about that. We'll talk about some of the best starship fights in Star Wars. We'll talk about that too. We'll have different people on for different reasons. All right, yeah, getting back to Star Wars Resistance. So, anyways, what was your reaction to the first episode? I loved it for being my first time ever even watching an animated Star Wars anything.
I thought it was pretty. It was interesting. It was very different because I was so used to Clone Wars, and it was a different vibe. You know, it gave me a different feel because it is filmed differently too.
Yeah, the
It's
animation
not your-
style is definitely different too from Clone Wars.
From Clone Wars, so it gives you a different feel. I like how they're setting it up with the new characters. You know, with Poe Dameron's in there,
Yeah,
and you're coming in with BB-8.
a lot
So
of
they're
diverse
introducing
characters.
these new-
Yeah, a lot of
Was that-
diverse characters too.
a lot of the new characters are in there, and so very, very looking forward to see how this show plays out.
Definitely, yeah, me too. I want to jump back to the Mandalorian real quick because I'm excited to see where season 2 is going to go. Season 1 was amazing, but I'm excited for season 2 for sure. Season 2 starts in October, and so hopefully we can get through a few episodes and talk about it and catch you guys up on the Mandalorian. If you haven't watched the Mandalorian, I recommend you guys watching the Mandalorian and then coming back and listening to the podcast as a companion to go along with the Mandalorian. And if you want to join the conversation, let me know. Like, hit me up on Facebook, hit Luke up on Facebook, right? You could hit us both up on Facebook. As a matter of fact, we're actually doing this call on Facebook right now. So it's not going to take much for you to participate in the Star Bros episodes on Thursday nights where we talk about Star Wars.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like I said, if you haven't watched The Mandalorian, go back and check that out. It's a good show. That's pretty much all we're going to talk about leading up until season 2. And this is just kind of like our way of showing, our fandom to Star Wars.
To Star Wars, exactly.
Hey, tell me real quick about one of your favorite experiences in Galaxy's Edge, because we actually went last winter. We went in December to Galaxy's Edge during Christmas time, so it was beautiful. It was awesome. Christmas decorations were up and everything. But you got to go. I've gone like 3 or 4 times already now. I love it so much. No, but you actually got to go for your first time, right? What was your highlight about Galaxy's Edge?
Oh my God. Walking in there was it changes. It's like you walk into a whole nother dimension and a whole nother planet. You're not even on Earth no more. You're in Star Wars. The coolest thing was I went around this bin. It's this big old mountain, like Space Mountain or something. You go around, it's like the Cars Canyon too. You go through it and you go underneath this bridge and it just opens up into Star Wars land. And it's like, oh my God, this is insane.
Yes.
Like you see the Falcon, like holy snap. The Falcon is right in front of me right now. Like I can actually legitly look at it and see it with my eyes. You
Yeah.
know, everything from the rocks that they built to like just the buttons on the walls is all Star Wars tricked out. There was not one piece that was from a different universe other than Star Wars.
Yeah.
If
But
you
and
can understand what I'm
it
saying.
looked really good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything just looks amazing. They did an amazing job on it. I'm so excited that Disney has Star Wars rights. That just means that we get to add more stuff to the Star Wars universe.
Yep.
But I mean, hopefully though they do a good job, because The Last Jedi, I'm sorry. The Last Jedi though, a little bit of a flop in my opinion.
Hey, listen, that Mary Poppins.
I know, right?
That
The
Mary
ode,
Poppins scene, though.
the
Come
ode
on,
to
we
Mary
can't-
Poppins. The ode to Mary Poppins, man. I know.
Yep.
I'm they got good actors. They're putting a lot of money behind it. So the first season was killer. I only expect season 2 to be even better. I've already seen all of season 1. So this is my third time going through season 1 of The Mandalorian. And I want to tell you guys so much more, but at the same time, I want to be able to do like a companion thing with it where we get to talk about every episode on Thursdays, right? So it's kind of hard, Hey, going back to the first episode of Mandalorian, what were your thoughts when you first seen Baby Yoda?
Oh my goodness. My first thoughts of Baby Yoda were just like, oh my God, is he a Force user? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Is this guy a Force user? Like, because we all know Yoda is like the total G of all the Jedi, you know?
Exactly.
So it's like Baby Yoda, what can this guy do?
Yeah.
Other than I want to cuddle this guy and hold him,
I know, and we don't even know if it's
he's
we
so
don't
cool.
know we don't know if it's like if we don't know if he's good or bad, really. We just know he's a Baby Yoda, because I thought it was funny though. It was like, so the Mandalorian basically he finds the package, right? And, this is after a huge gunfight with IG-11, and there's like a huge like cannon that they have to like take out and stuff. All good stuff. The whole entire time though, IG-11 keeps insisting that he's gonna self-destruct, which I thought was like
He says a bomb on him in his chest like the whole time. Like,
yeah.
I'm ready to go off. I'm ready to go off.
So the whole entire time he's trying to self-destruct, and every so often you hear Mando, he's like, no, don't self-destruct. Stop trying to self-destruct. Anyways, the whole entire, obviously they save the day, they kill the bad guys or whatever. They find Baby Yoda. And can you tell us about that part when what is IG-11?
Basically, well, it's so crazy because their main point is to destroy the asset. And so they find Baby Yoda in this cradle-looking ball thing. And they open it up, and it's Baby Yoda, and right away you see, IG-11's like, well, we have to terminate this species. And he's like, well, how old is it? And he's like, well, this species is, already 100 years old. He's like, what? He's like, this is a baby in a carriage. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, he's not a baby. He's like 100 years old. They age differently than us. And so right then and there, like, IG-11's about to blast Baby Yoda out of the little eggshell that he's in.
Right.
But it affects Mando's heart so much that he ends up shooting IG-11, blasts IG-11. IG-11 dies,
So sad because it was like this coolest robot ever, and then he just blasts him real quick.
And blasts IG-11, he hits the floor, and you just see like Baby Yoda, you just see like this egg, And next thing you know, like Mando sticks out his hand to point at him, and next thing you know, Baby Yoda's little hand just pops out of the cradle and touches fingers
Oh
with
my
Mando.
gosh,
It's
so
like,
amazing.
oh my god,
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda! And that's
Oh
when
my
like
God.
everybody was like, oh my
Baby
goodness.
Yoda. And then the Baby
Baby
Yoda took over the
Yoda.
internet. Oh my God,
Yes.
that's so funny. Oh man. Another part that we
And
forgot to
then the
mention.
memes were made.
And then the memes came out, yeah.
Yeah.
We forgot to mention was that we actually do get to see a little bit of like the old Mandalorian religion, because there is a club where Mando takes his that metal. I'm sorry, I forget what it's called.
It's actually called Beskar.
Beskar metal.
The
That's right.
medal is that's the reward that they get for every in the guild. They do a task. They come back to the guild and they're rewarded with Beskar medal.
Not
And
just
what
Beskar metal. It could be like they did even say credits. Remember setting. They
Credits.
mentioned Imperial credits, but they also said Imperial credits don't spend well. They don't spend like that anymore,
And
right?
there's also another thing called a Kaliman Flawed.
Calamari flan. Calamari flan.
Calamari flan.
Yes.
And it's like money as well too. Yes.
Yeah. And the calamari flans from the Mon Calamari species in Star Wars. So if you know all the old battleships in like the first Star Wars, those are all Mon Calamarian made. I think I can't remember exactly.
They're called like the Carillion ships.
Yeah, and so they're made by the Mon
They're called
Calamarian
big
people.
cruisers.
Yeah, they're the big cruisers that the rebel forces use, and that's the money that they spend. Calamari flan, and in this episode, the first episode, the guild leader gives Mando, he pays him in calamari flan, and then but then you said that, but so he does in order for him to deliver the package, he is rewarded with the Beskar medal, right? And what we get to see is he takes the Beskar medal and the calamari flan to another Mandalorian who is a smith, and then fashions him a new piece of armor, right?
Yeah, and so which is cool. What's cool too is we know from her voice she's female too. So not only are the men guys are
warriors,
Mandalorians, warriors, but there's also women warriors too. So it's like, oh, and she's a smith.
Yeah, and she's a smith.
She's like a blacksmith in the Star Wars world for the guild, and which is so cool. So he gives her his medal, basically the Beskar medal, and she basically forges him a legitimate, like it's a shoulder pad armor
for the first, that covers his shoulder,
for his first piece, you know. And so with that, it kind of gives him a little bit of a name now.
A little bit of clout, like, because he has a piece of Beskar metal armor.
He has a piece of Beskar metal, so he's like, oh, he's in it to win it now. He's legit.
And where did that metal? Because I remember they mentioned something about where the metal came from, though, right?
The metal is actually from the old. They said it's from before the Purge, the Great Purge. If you all know, the Great Purge is actually Order 66 given by Palpatine to destroy all the Jedi.
So that happened at the end of Episode 3, right?
3.
At the end of Episode 3 is when Order 66, the Great Purge, took place, and so the metal that we see is before Order 66. So this is during the time of Jango Fett that this metal came from, and Jango is a Mandalorian who was used as the base model for clones for the clone army, right? They used Jango as a DNA to clone. They used Jango and they just cloned him, and he basically became they became the clone army. That's most of the stormtroopers were. And so when you see the stormtroopers, this is getting off on like some Star Wars tangent stuff, but when you see stormtroopers, they're different from clone troopers. Clone troopers are all based off of Jango Fett, who is a Mandalorian, okay, and is a bounty hunter who trained Boba Fett, who you see in the originals, right? And now we have the new guy, Mando. They just call him Mando for short. We don't really know his name yet, but they just call him Mando.
We don't know his name yet. Mando, Mandalorian.
Yeah. But yeah, that's episode 1 of The Mandalorian. Super cool show. Like I said, we can't talk about it enough. Here we are, almost a whole year later, talking about Mandalorian, getting ready for season 2. Super exciting stuff. Hey, we talked for about 40 minutes already. That sounds like a good length for a Star Wars podcast, yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Hey, anything you want to leave the audience with before we sign off tonight?
Definitely just want to say, thank you for joining the podcast with us, Star Bros, Thursday nights. And, thank you for giving us your time. Appreciate the fans out there. We have plenty of more content coming your way. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
Yeet. There you have it, folks. First episode of Star Bros on the Average Fellas podcast. Hey, guys, we'll be tuning in on Thursday nights for the Star Bros episodes. Thursday nights, guys. If you want to join the Star Bros chat, just follow along with us and watch episode 2 of The Mandalorian this week. And we'll be discussing that next Thursday. All right, guys, take it easy. Stay fresh. Love ya.